Hi, this is Tyler, and this is our last episode of the season. And we're so excited to end the season with this episode, especially talking about this movie. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with the audio of this episode, and so it's going to sound a little weird towards the beginning of it, but if you keep going through it, it's a great episode. Thank you so much for watching our show. If you've been watching it throughout the season, we can't wait to come back for season 2, which will be in late March. So we will see you then and enjoy this awesome episode. Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Popmosis Film. I'm looking at all 3 webcams that I have. This is really confusing, but you, the audience, are right there in front of me. We are here to talk about a very special film that had come out back in 2009. It is a franchise that I absolutely adore and love, and this is the movie which is called Promethean Orb Evolution, starring Goku, who is also Uzaru, that comes down to Earth to ruin a franchise that's beloved by so many people. And this, I cannot wait to jump on this. This is our last episode of the season, and we have an amazing guest here, RuthAnn Thompson. RuthAnn, how are you?
Hello. I'm a little bit enraged right now because I just finished watching the movie, but I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. No, I'm like, and of course, having here is such an honor as well, because not only are you a big Dragon Ball fan, as we can see from behind you, but you've also were able to play Bulma. Can you tell us a little bit about that before we get started with the movie?
Yes. So I played Bulma in a live action web series by Robot Underdog, and it was the absolute best. And the only other time that I've seen this dog pile of a movie, I almost cursed in the first minute. Was the person I was dating at the time was like, oh, well, you need to see all iterations of Bulma to make sure that you don't copy anything or you get some good ideas. I legit walked out of my own house probably 3/4 the way through because I was just so angry. I had so much rage in my soul. But the web series that I'm in, I absolutely love, and I actually just rewatched it a couple months ago, and it's based on the future Trunks timeline. So we chose something that was a little bit easier to make a movie about because there's only the androids that look like humans, so we didn't deal with, all of the stuff that any other Dragon Ball saga would need, or we could have just ignored the entire plot line like a Dragon Ball Evolution.
Right, exactly. No, thank you so much for being here. And as always, as tradition, we have Josiah with all the production notes. Josiah, what was this? What was this sad excuse for a movie? I'm so sorry I kept talking.
No, that's for the best. I'm gonna basically this is where I throw a lot of people under the bus for who made this thing. That's what happens right now.
I blame him for everything.
Yeah.
It's like not saying here are the people who worked on it. It's like here are the people
who ruined it. Ruined it.
Yeah, it really is. It really
here are the accused.
Yeah. So Dragon Ball Evolution was released on April 10th, 2009, which is crazy to think. This was that makes this an early summer movie, because that's what Marvel does a lot, right? That's their slot for one of their movies, the early summer slot, April, which is really spring, but in terms of the, rollout, it's early summer. So this was that implies they thought there was something that might happen with this movie. So it had a budget of $30 million, and it opened at $5 million, which isn't bad for opening for a movie of that budget. But in the US, it only went on to make $9 million. So it didn't even it opened at $5 million and then went on to make $9 million. And I rounded these numbers up, so it's slightly less than that.
That's way too much money it made.
It made internationally, it did make $56 million, but with marketing, at best, it might have broken even. Probably not, I'm guessing, but at best. So it was directed by James Wang, who did a lot of television, X-Files in particular, which he mostly is a producer, but he did direct some X-Files, and Final Destination 1 and 3, just a movie about death and destruction, and he did his best to kill a franchise.
Yeah.
I actually like Final Destination 3. Oh no.
I haven't seen Final Destination 3. I saw Final Destination probably at the time, and then it was, what it was. It's not my kind of movie. So
if that's the one with the escalator, then that's the one I love because it's so ridiculous. So I don't know.
So the script was by Ben Ramsey, who has written a lot of random action movies that you probably haven't seen. And the weird thing was, so I was looking through his credits, and he wrote something called Black Salt. So, but Black Salt, this short film, so I've never seen it, but it's weird. So I don't know the direct connection, but I know a guy that I met him once and he like through another friend, and he's like a Facebook friend. But he also developed a video game based on this Black Salt thing. And it's Black Salt Insurrection, like a fighting game. So it's just weird that I'm like, whoa, I kind of have a backdoor connection to this movie, which I don't know that I want that. But I know the guy that knows the guy, so we're cool. And I barely know the guy that I know, so
you shouldn't know him anymore. Just FYI, I just don't know him.
Yeah.
Just at least the Facebook, like maybe not unfriend, but unfollow.
Just mute.
So,
just mute.
Yeah. So it is based on Dragon Ball, believe it or not. I know it does not seem like this movie is based on Dragon, but it is.
But they're going after Promethean orbs. I'm so confused, Josiah.
By Dragon Ball by Akira Toriyama, which he was an executive producer on this, by the way. And it was also produced by Stephen Chow, which I didn't realize until I watched it last night. I'm like, Stephen Chow?
My heart seeing that name. I was like, are you kidding me, man?
Actually, once you're done, I have the whole other story from James Marsters about that.
Okay.
Go on.
We'll get to that. So Dragon Ball stuff, just a very small snippet of background on Dragon Ball. So it was first serialized from 1984 through 1995 in, was it Shonen Jump?
Shonen Jump.
I forgive my Japanese here. In 519 chapters and 42 volumes. So big, and I honestly didn't know about the manga comic book version until very, very recently. But I did watch the cartoon. It aired in Japan from 86. Cartoon. I know. Hey, we're in America. It's the anime. America. It means cartoon. From 86. From hey, my dog is named after an anime, so
it's true. Akira's awesome.
So from 1986 through 96 and then to 97. So in the different iterations, that was Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball
Super.
Yep.
Yes. So the various iterations.
Yep.
I couldn't. It's written down, but I can't read.
No other ones. Not even one that's called Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Heroes doesn't exist. It's just Dragon Ball Super. That's it.
Just Dragon Ball Super. And don't. There's another Dragon Ball that's not actually Dragon Ball, so don't even mention it. We'll just move on.
The way I came into it was, so in the mid 90s, I had a paper route. I was a paper boy, delivered the physical newspaper when those were a thing. And I would get up early on Sundays. That was, mostly it was like after school thing. Saturday and Sunday it was early. And Sunday mornings I would get up early. And the cool thing was, where I grew up in Pittsburgh, I just happened to wear a Pittsburgh shirt, not intentional. But that was when they would air Dragon Ball Sunday morning. So I would watch Dragon Ball Sunday morning in the mid 90s, and I just had no idea what it was. And I wasn't really, like, at that point I'd seen like some anime, but I wasn't super familiar. And so this just like rocked my world in the best possible ways. So that's how I came into it. So let's blame the cast. So it is starring Justin Chatwin, who is Goku. Justin Chatwin, like.
You know what? Okay, I'm sorry. No, you know what? We'll talk about it in a second.
I'm not.
Please.
I'm holding myself back.
We'll say those things. We're just listing names here. We'll drag them through the dirt, which they did to themselves. Chow Yun-Fat as Roshi, Emmy Rossum as Bulma, Jamie Chung as Chi-Chi, and also this now connects us to Sucker Punch, another horrible movie that we watched. That we.
Zack Snyder. Why?
We're also like inadvertently the Zack Snyder podcast. We've recorded 3 movies of his. Just
I know in the first season of our show.
It wasn't even intentional; just happened. We just They're good or bad. They're good movies to talk about. But anyway, it was 20. Who else was in it? Jamie Chung, I mentioned, and James Marsters. Lord Piccolo. So that is it from me.
Here's a fun fact. Randall Duke Kim, who did Gohan, he was actually the keymaker in Matrix Reloaded, and he also voiced Master Oogway in the Kung Fu Panda movies. So
yeah.
Hey,
thank you for mentioning Kung Fu Panda before I did. So
I don't
owe anybody any money. So thank you. You owe me $20 now. No. Okay. So Dragon Ball Evolution. Cash grab, definitely just trying to make money easily. I definitely think that this. Okay, so I don't know. I tried to look this up and I couldn't find it anywhere. I feel like this is something that just for the studio to preserve the IP of Dragon Ball. But then I also started thinking, I was like, maybe that's just like crap.
But no, it was Tim Rothman. Yes, he threw it together as soon as possible so they wouldn't lose the rights for it, and then kept rewriting it up until the day of, pretty much, when they were on set. And kept just changing it and changing it and changing it. Tim Rothman is also the key man who has ruined every single nerd book, movie, anything for a long time. He kept being like, nobody wants to see Deadpool. He is the reason that X-Men, the third X-Men movie happened at all.
Yeah.
With all that garbage, like
so he's buddies with Brett. He's the Brett Ratner friend. Oh, okay. He's the one who invited that one guy doesn't belong to the party.
Then he ruined everything. It's just it's so exhausting. And it's funny rewatching this, and I was like, wait a minute, Tim Rothman didn't. He did. Yeah.
So let's start off maybe with this cast, because here's the thing of this is based on an anime where, depending on what interview Akira Toriyama is having, where he states that the Z Fighters or a majority of the cast, the races kind of switch with him. I know he said that they are Asian. Sometimes he says they're European, like that the world is kind of like, it's kind of like small and like little sects of like different cultures and different, like, that's why like in Dragon Ball, the anime, not Z, but Dragon Ball, they'll go across a valley, and then it's automatically like you'll see like Native Americans, and then right across a river will be like this European, like this French kind of architecture, and then like beyond that will be like snow like 5 feet away from it.
Tours, just cause.
Yeah, and like would there be igloos and stuff like that? So like everything's kind of weird with this. I will say this though, I'll be the devil's advocate. I thought Justin, whatever his name is, Chatwin, who we haven't seen in like forever, I don't think he was really that bad in certain scenes. I actually think that he tried, but then...
Yeah, you can try, but when you have no charisma in your soul, you can try, but when there's nothing in you to give, like...
I'm trying to give credit to only 2 actors in this movie. So Justin Chatwin, I was like, okay, some scenes I believed it. I was like, okay, maybe you could have been like an adult Goku. Maybe if a good competent movie was made, maybe. Like, I'm just saying, like, but I would say Chow Yun-Fat as Roshi was actually like the only good part of this movie. I liked him. He wasn't Roshi, but he tried. Like, he definitely tried, in my opinion.
So like character interpretation is always great. That's fine. Literally every single character in this is wrong. Yeah. It's completely wrong. Like, first of all, Gohan is hard pass. And also, why did it take until the very last scene for him to get into Hawaiian shirt? Just having a fucking Hawaiian shirt from the get-go. Just give me that. I get that you can't have him in sunglasses the whole time. Fine. Just put him in a... And also, why is the Kame house in the middle of a city? At least put it on an island. I don't know. And also, like, it's called Capsule Corp. It's not called Transformer Corp. Why is it the one time she could have just gone, bonk, it turns into a flipping Transformer bike?
I know.
It doesn't float! Like, the whole thing with the technology they have is it flies.
That's money. So, that's budget. That's budget.
This movie, to have Goku, to have us start with Goku as a teenager with Gohan alive and have him going to school, they just wanted to do Spider-Man. Like, this movie is just Spider-Man. And instead of what's his face killing, or whatever, it's King Piccolo who kills Gohan. And then he has to have the Ben moment of like, instead of saying, basically, with much power comes responsibility. He's like, go to see Master Roshi and you will learn their past. There's so many levels of this.
Well, it's Star Wars then. It's Star Wars then.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Which really, now that I see it, it really is. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a really, 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 really horrible
Star
version
Wars
of
and
that.
Spider-Man smashed together in all the terribleness that it could ever be. But I will say this one thing as a weeb, as a self-proclaimed weeb, I think the thing that pisses me off the most about this movie is that Goku knows all about the Dragonballs before Bulma does.
Thank you. And she shows up and she knows nothing. She calls it Prometheus. I'm like, I'm sorry. No. In her basement, she found the number 5 ball. She did all the research, then created the Dragon Radar. And then she found the number 1 ball. And then she came after the 4 ball and taught everybody everything. Like, I did everything wrong in this movie.
I think everybody misheard me. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. It's so sad. Like, everything else, I'm like, everything else is forgiven. But Bulma not knowing what a Dragon Ball is.
Dare!
Like, oh, it broke my heart. I just wanted to say those two nice things about those actors, because everybody else, I mean, I feel like we're gonna rip into them.
Well, actually, and that would go into my James Marster story. So if you're ready for it, because that's the only cast I was like, when I saw the poster, was my first like hard pass. I'm not watching this bullshit. Nope. This little white boy. Nope. I'm out. And then I saw James Marsters. I was like, oh, how the F did they convince him? He's an incredible actor and all this stuff. And just like, this was probably like a year or two after the movie came out. I just happened to be just like Googling something about him. And I was like, I wonder, look it up. And there's this heartbreaking video. It's probably still out there, but it's him at a convention. And somebody obviously just asked him like, what happened with Dragon Ball? And he's like, you just see him go, okay. So he goes into talking about how much he loves Dragon Ball. He loves it so much and everything that it meant to him. And he raised his kids on it because that's how much it means to him. And so like, obviously when it came, like when he saw this on the way and he saw what's his face, who was also the producer of, we were just talking about, not Rothman.
Stephen Chow.
When he saw that, it's like that. So he's like on board. He was also told, that he was very hands-on as a producer. He was also told that it was twice the budget. So he was told it was like $60 million that they had. He didn't find out any of the truth until he landed in New Mexico to start filming it. And they didn't even have enough money to pay for his stunt double to get into the full makeup. So he still suffers from a broken clavicle that he got in one of the fight scenes.
Oh my
and
God.
His only hope, he was like, he had a feeling it was kind of falling apart on set because like the script kept changing, all this kind of stuff.
And contracts, you have to finish with contracts.
Yeah. So his only hope was that it would do well enough in theaters that they could just get a second chance at it. That's all he wanted. And he tells the story of the opening night. And he was like, he was going to bring his kid to come see it with him at the local theater. And they walk into this theater and it's packed. And he's really excited until he realizes he's in the wrong theater. So then he walks into the actual theater and there's only 3 other people there. And he had to sit with his son and watch this travesty. And it was just, you could see how heartbreaking it was for him because he just loves the IP so much. And like, even hearing his voice and all that kind of stuff, like to me, it's like, it's not really King Piccolo, but like, he's so good. Like he's the only thing that I take away. I'm like, all right, I'll accept it, even though they keep calling him Piccolo and not King Piccolo and all that kind of stuff. But, and then like again, when I first saw this movie, I just cut out and was like, nope. I just walked out of my own house and had to do like a lap to calm down. I never saw the cutaway scene where it's just like he wakes up in the bed and just like gives that lady the look. I'm like, oh, good goodness. What are you doing, King Piccolo? Like, oh my. James Marsters in your green face. Get out of my bed. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. But okay, so obviously RuthAnn and I have some strong opinions on this movie and this cast.
I have more notes.
Oh, we're not. We're nowhere close to done. But Josiah and Paul are non-weeb friends. Okay, first off, what do you think about the casting? And two, like, what are your experiences with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, or Akira Toriyama?
As I said, I watched it, but the thing is, like, I watched it and I loved it, but it didn't carry over with me. I haven't watched a million future versions. I haven't read the manga. I haven't, what I saw was what I saw at that time. And I've seen it since then in bits and pieces, but I've never devoted to going back to it full time. So that way, I like when you say some of the characters, I'm like, I don't remember by name some of the, I know Goku, Piccolo, a lot of these, the bigger characters, Vegeta, like the Krillin, like certain characters from the show that I, hold on to, Roshi, obviously. But as you watch this, even if you just saw one episode of any version of it, you would know this has nothing to do with it. It just has Dragon Balls in it and the names of some of the characters. And as to the casting, it's just bad because, you could talk about, if you wanted to, the whole idea of whitewashing and things like that. And it seems like Akira Toriyama has like sort of an out for that where it's okay. But it's not even, I don't like, for example, I know there was like people upset with like Ghost in the Shell that Scarlett Johansson is cast in that role. And I have less of a problem with that because Scarlett Johansson, sure, she's white, but why they cast her is because she's going to sell tickets internationally to people all over the world, not just people in the United States.
Also, the creator said, when they said, who do you see playing this, the only person he said was Scarlett Johansson, that was the only person he even had a thought.
But take Matt Damon in that Great Wall movie, right? Like, Matt Damon will sell tickets internationally. That's the reason they wanted Matt Damon for that movie. Those are people that would sell tickets to a movie. You cast Justin Chatwin. Nobody else is really Chow Yun-Fat. He's good because he's good. He's a great actor and a great martial artist. So it works for him because he's just so good. But nobody else works because they're just not right, or they're, as in Justin Chatwin's case, I try to always sort of temper these things, but I think he's bad. He's not a good actor. He might be okay in he's okay in the quiet, sort of neutral moments, but he doesn't have any charisma. He doesn't have anything that really makes you want to watch him. And that's the problem. And I'm sure he's a good actor. I know he was on Shameless and some other things that I think he's better on, but I can't speak to that. And I don't want to disparage him as a whole as an actor, but he's
quitting acting just because of you now.
Yeah. For this kind of, well, he's Canadian, so he's probably working in Canada, but he just doesn't bring anything to the role. There's no dynamic quality to him. And that's what I want to see in Goku. That when I watched the Goku, that's the Goku I knew that would when he's everything about the intensity is not there. And just there's the lack of charisma. When you have, comparing it to Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire is a fantastic actor, but he's not necessarily known for his charisma. But clearly he has 1,000 times more charisma than this actor. And that parallel really, it's just, you can just see it. He's just some dude that they for some reason thought was going to be the next bit, because he hadn't done really anything before this. He hasn't done anything really significant after this, at least in film, after he became mainly a television actor. So it's just and it doesn't work. And even Emmy Rossum, who's good as an actress, who's also in Shameless, she's a good actress. It's I don't know what she was doing. It's
so forced. She's forcing this. She's trying to be Sarah Connor, and it's just that's not who Bulma is. She's brilliant, and the reason she's angry is because everybody's idiots around her. But then you have this character that they've created, Goku, in this movie, where he's not Goku, so she has no reason to. I don't know the whole thing, but yes, go on.
She's Sarah Connor, but also trying to be funny. And those two things don't mesh.
And they put so much Botox on her poor eyes for this movie. Oh my God. She looks like a plastic. Oh, it's just so sad.
Can I say that I had the biggest crush on that actress until this movie? And I was just never mind. You're not as cool. Clearly you don't make good life decisions. I'm joking. That was terrible. That was so mean. I'm sorry. That's the other thing. I think everybody was pitched a good movie. And I have to disagree about them not using these actors did do things. Justin Chatwin was just getting off of War of the Worlds. Twilight one just came out with actors that people barely knew. I think this movie did this casting on purpose, where it was they picked she was coming off of Even Stevens. She was on Broadway for Beauty and the Beast. She right? Isn't that the same? No, I'm thinking about a completely different actor.
No, wrong.
Oh my God. No, but
not to come on your podcast and tell you you're wrong, but
no,
wrong.
I just realized they look so alike. Her and what's her face? Christine something. But Emma. Anyway, so no, she was just off. She just got done with let's see, Family Opera 2004, and then the Day After Tomorrow. So she had just gotten off of Day After Tomorrow. The two actors that just came off of the death or the world destroying movies. Anyway.
War of the Worlds was several years before this. That was way before this. And he was good in that with but that was a long time before this. Yeah. That was he was basically yeah,
that's true.
Much younger. And that was he was certainly, and he was good in that. I want to give him credit for that. He was good in that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he's fantastic in Shameless too. But I also think
there's no cast that could have fixed this movie. I'm gonna be real.
But beyond that, what I said though, it's when you don't have, he doesn't bring anything extra to the role. So when you're casting him, you got to cast somebody that has. If he doesn't have to have a name, he has to have something.
Paul, what did you think about the characters, or what was your history with Dragon Ball, and then what do you think about the characters in this film?
So I actually used to watch Dragon Ball right before school. It would play like the first saga where they're finding the 7 balls, and then Goku turns into the big ape, and so I'd watch that. And then for a while it was not on TV, and then I started rewatching it again when it went on Toonami, and watched it religiously. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z. Like, I grew up with Dragon Ball Z, and so when this movie came out, I was actually one of the sad people that actually went to the theater to see it. And I was so angry.
Bless your soul. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was one of the 4 people or whatever in the theater. And I was...
that was James Marshall's with you, by the way. Just...
I wish I went up to him and said, hey, man, when he did Spike, it was awesome. But, oh, yeah, it was just so bad. And, like, so I remember Tyler pitched to see this movie for the podcast. And I thought, okay, well, I know I had a bad experience. I'll watch it again. Maybe it's a little bit better. Maybe. But I literally, after I finished the movie, I was like depressed. I was like, what am I doing with my life? This is really awful.
I couldn't even look directly at the screen most of the time. I was getting so angry. Like, I had to just like look somewhere else. I was like, I'm going to fucking throw my computer. I can't. Oh, God. It's so bad.
I literally had to do other things while I'm watching it. Like, I was like, oh, I guess it's time to fold laundry or something. Like, I was just really upset. You know, like throughout like half my life, I've been in the Dragon Ball Z.
Until this moment, until we watch this movie again.
Yeah, there's a trash can full of like all his Dragon Ball stuff because this movie upset him so much. It's like I can't even be associated with any of it.
That Ron Swanson gif of him with the computer, just throwing it in.
Oh, like Ron Swanson, yeah, just like. So yeah, I mean, as far as casting, I can understand why they took the job because when you envision a Dragon Ball Z movie, you would think like, oh my God, this is a great franchise potential. Like they could easily do almost like a Harry Potter kind of thing, where they have like 7 or 8 movies chronicling Goku's life, and then and then maybe Gohan, and like they could chronicle like a whole series of like really great movies, and so. And then when you pitch the idea of like it's going to be a large blockbuster, like $60 million, and then Stephen Chow's in it, and you're like, I better take this role because it's going to really boost my career. And I think every single person that went in that believed that this is going to boost my career if I do Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And real quick though, hearing $60 million, that's not even enough to make this movie. That's not even close to enough to make the movie right. Like, not even close. Like 30 million. When I saw that, I was like, well, that explains things, but you just can't make it right. Like, not the version they tried to make.
That's true.
At least.
That's true. That's very true.
I disagree. Because District 9 was like 30 million, and that movie looks amazing. Like the CGI is really well done. So it depends on the creative talent behind it.
You can't compare like a movie made in South Africa by an independent filmmaker on a shoestring budget to a studio film. What if his subsequent films cost? They've been big budget movies after that. It's not a,
I can see what you're saying. Like Dragon Ball is very basic. Dragon Ball is like it's very it doesn't have the gravitas and the insanity and the epicness of Dragon Ball Z. So I can understand why like in Dragon Ball they're like, okay. Like, but again, like this was mostly just to hold on to an IP, which is why it's like so aggravating with the fact that like instead of making,
they didn't even do the IP. They didn't even make a if you're gonna make a Dragon Ball movie. So first of all, if you go back and rewatch Dragon Ball is actually there's way more sex and there's way more violence, like personal violence, and it's kind of shocking because it's children. But this movie is supposed to take place when Goku is turning 18, which we actually don't ever see that. That's actually past Dragon Ball. Let's just get real specific here. And like, it's using characters that aren't even like involved in what this storyline is supposed to be. Like, if you had just subtracted all the BS and actually made this the last tournament in Dragon Ball, fantastic. Like, great. Just make it that. Just simplify it, whatever. Like, great. But all this bullshit that they added in of like 1,000 years and the Ozu, and I was like, wait, no, Goku is no. Oh god.
It's like Yeah, they made it over. The story was like overly complex for no reason, and it just I think it like really confused the audience. You know, it's like there's a prophecy with these 7 elders, and then the Dragonballs, and then Ozaru. It's just like too fucking.
And you get visions from touching the Dragon Ball. But here's the funniest thing: like on the rewatch, they explain that 4 times.
Yeah.
For no reason. We have the voiceover at the beginning that does the whole thing. And then we get it again from Roshi. Then we get it again when Roshi and Chi-Chi and Bulma and them are sitting around. It's like, I can't take this story any more times. You've made it too convoluted and yet explained the simplest parts about it too many times. It's...
And the part that really doesn't matter, because if you care about, like, all you need to know, Dragon Ball is a thing we need to possess and we go on this quest to get them. You don't really need that other stuff. And also, real quick, for Tyler and Paul, like when I'm watching the beginning of that, thank you for reminding me that the beginning gave me flashbacks to Green Lantern, and Green Lantern was a movie we talked about. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Green Lantern all over again.
They keep changing everything, so like they're using Ki Blast from the get-go, and it's like, but Roshi is the one who taught him Ki Blast, and then it's air manipulation. Is this fucking Airbender? What is going on? Like, I can't handle, and it's like, oh, it lights the fire. It's not fire. It's an energy. It's called Ki for the love of fuck.
Yeah,
like, I can't.
This movie, like, yeah, okay. Oh man, there's so much I want to ask in like a little time because we can't have this podcast be 3 hours long like I want it to be.
I know we
in my
could go
mind
forever. Yeah.
But let's carry on to. So obviously we all love the casting and how the characters are portrayed.
Go ahead, Paul. I did cut Paul off at one point.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I think in order for this movie to work, you would have to make Goku really young, take him out of the high school setting, have him fight, like do the Red Ribbon Army arc. Start off with that, and then have the Red Ribbon Army arc, like have like one of the soldiers or whatever, like kill Gohan, and then his whole reason for getting the Dragon Balls is to wish Gohan to come back to life.
Yep.
And just like basically do that whole arc that take the Emperor Pilaf.
I would have been okay with that. Don't ruin my
Pilaf and the Red Ribbon Army arc. Just kind of truncate it into one movie. And there you go. That would be a great movie. But I can imagine a Dragon Ball Z fan coming into this movie and they're like, hey, why is Piccolo the villain? Why is Goku in high school? But like, it's just so confusing from a Dragon Ball Z. It's like they're trying to do too many of the storylines all at once and like not satisfying anybody. And I feel that like, and I feel like the whole high school setting is because of Harry Potter. Like they're like, hey, let's do him in school. Like he's trying to figure things out, like Harry Potter. It's like this whole movie it felt like it was done by committee.
Well, I feel like it was Spider-Man and Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Power Rangers as well.
And like I would have even simplified it farther, but you're absolutely right. It should honestly, it should have started with just kind of cut out some of the tournament stuff and have it be... I can understand
not wanting to have a whole CG character like Pilaf. Like, I can understand that too. So.
Absolutely. Like, and that's the thing too. That's what costs more money. Hence why we just did the Future Trunks timeline. Very simple.
Yes.
But like, just because like the way that Bulma and Goku first meet is so fantastic, and just having the fact that like, oh, my grandfather died, I found him crushed, and then and then we get to basically the end. Then you just kind of take some parts and end it the way that season 1 ends, of them battling Emperor Pilaf, and then he turns into the Ozu because of the moon, and that's when Bulma and everybody else realizes that, oh no, he's the one who killed his grandfather. And that's like the epic, like, ooh, heartbreak of it. I don't know. Like there's so many different like little pieces you could have done. And it's funny because like this movie right away, I was like, hard pass, not going to work. No. And I remember when they first announced the first X-Men movie, and I was a huge X-Men fan from Little Nugget. And for me, I was like, there's no way they can do that right, because they're going to try to do too many storylines. They're going to try to this, that, the other. It's 50 years of like story. Like, there's no way.
Especially with how like 90s comics were. Like,
oh my God. Like, is Jean Grey alive? Is she dead? Is she a clone? I don't know. But having
the answer is yes to all of that.
Yes. Which is the most annoying part. WandaVision. Okay, don't even get
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
That's a different podcast.
But it's just one of those things, like, to me, this is similar to like Wanted, where the comic book is like the first scene is the only thing that's similar from the comic book to the movie, and then everything else is just like, well, we don't need the rest of the plot, or we don't need these character developments, like just done. And for this movie, it was just a cash grab because they knew that it was such a huge fan base. But then what they tried to do is just like whitewash it and make it as vanilla as possible for like middle America. And then it just didn't work because you pissed off the fans. And it's still too weird and makes no sense for anybody like who's never watched the anime. Yeah, and it's also just a poorly put together movie. Like, you reach that point when you know something's going to be shitty, X-Men 3, and you try to like just go to your Zen place and be like, all right, well, this is just a movie. I'm just watching a movie. Let's see if this is I'm just not going to think about what it's supposed to be based on. Garbage. Like nothing makes sense. And by the time like Chi-Chi and Goku have their kiss, I'm like, I don't give about these smooches. Like there's nothing leading up to this. Like I just...
The Chi-Chi in this film, though, like I just didn't understand her character whatsoever. She's dating the like jerk high school jock for apparently no reason.
She dated it's like she's just next to him all the time.
Yeah, like I don't understand. And then she's like teasing, like once she knows that Goku can close or open lockers secretly, then she's into him. That's the thing.
Yeah, with his airbending powers.
Yeah,
it reminds me of Spider-Man, where it's like, oh, so therefore I have value. Like,
yeah, that was totally like when you say like I know I said, oh, like the plot overall is Star Wars, but that whole high school component and the bullying thing, that's Flash Thompson.
With those 40-year-old stunt.
No, yeah, totally. Like, yeah, the high school.
They all look so old. I was
Justin
like, oh my god.
Like probably, I think he was in his late 20s at that time, and he's a young looking
he
person.
looks fine.
So it's believable, but the dudes that were like the high school jocks were like,
they had crow's feet.
They look like me right now.
They looked older. They looked older than the cast of American Pie 1 now. Like
they all had dad bods before that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like that. That's just another thing that there's many things about this movie that didn't work. That's just another thing. So you're making a movie that they're trying to make a movie for the broad audience. And you either gotta make if at least is a movie that works, is not not really truly a Dragon Ball movie, that's okay. But it just doesn't work. Like just like you said, it just doesn't work as that. It wants to be both things somehow, and it ends up being neither. So it's just a complete disaster.
Yeah.
Like like when but the moment where you like when they kiss, like that's supposed to be this moment that builds to something. You're like, I absolutely don't care. Like shoot the fire out or light the fire again. That was the only cool part of this sequence.
It's amazing, this movie, how and it's really weird to say this, but it was it's created like the yearly trilogy of terribleness, which it started with this in 2009, and then The Last Airbender 2010, and then Green Lantern in 2011, and it's like of really fantastical things with a very big fan base and a lot on it, where this movie was a very big deal for society and potentially, if it did well, for them.
Society?
Listen, we've been waiting for a Dragon Ball movie for a really long time. My tattoo, my Dragon Ball tattoo on the back of my neck will tell you I've been waiting for a long time for this. Don't you sass us, Josiah. There's a society of us.
I don't think you understand. Back from 2001 on, after the internet, I had favorited there's so many websites that were just about Dragon Ball Z movie news. That was it, because this was in pre-production since 2001. Like, it's like, and they still exist today, but like there was 3 in particular that I checked every single day. Do
you want me to go get my Dragon Ball Z lunchbox from high school?
I'm not
I still have it.
Any of that in terms of your love and appreciation for the franchise. But
so Dragon Ball Z, like Sailor Moon, are staples for anime. The only reason why people even know the word anime are because of these 2 shows. Like, honestly, like, I mean, Transformers is anime. Nobody calls it anime. No, everybody calls it cartoon. Dragon Ball means a lot to society.
Well, I'm gonna point out. I think
Dragon Ball Z,
but it's an American cartoon.
Dragon Ball Z is important to a lot of people in the way like Star Wars is important to you and me, and it's the same level as that. So when they make a movie that sucks so bad, like think of this movie being released is like Phantom Menace being released. Like it's just like terribly.
Oh, that was so disappointing.
You know what I mean? It's like the same level. And so like when you see something like that, it's like, oh fuck, like what am I doing with my life?
I will say that what I was saying, like Last Airbender wasn't so detrimental because honestly, a lot of people did love Avatar Last Airbender, but honestly, it was so close to when it had aired. When it stopped airing in 2006, it only came out 4 years later, where this had been marinating. Okay, so here's the thing about Dragon Ball, why this movie was also so detrimental. And yeah, I would say society, because honestly, we're all parts of geeks. We're a society. We're a community. This was a very big thing. I had started going to conventions. I started going to Comic-Con before this. I started going in 2007 to Comic-Con. And even Dragon Ball Z is ginormous at Comic-Con. I mean, you go to booths, people have stuff everywhere.
Yeah, a lot. It's so wonderful now, like walking through it, and it's just like, I see you everywhere. I love it. But yeah, I mean, it used to not be anywhere because I mean, I didn't see it until Toonami in the late 90s and then followed it throughout high school. And that was my first. And that was back when the only other time you could watch anime on TV was Adult Swim, which was only on Sunday nights and had anime.
I still have 30 of my original, probably full of lead action figures. I still have my Dende with me, and but like so.
And I think the thing is, it's like it took so long for anime to be taken seriously and to become mainstream and like widely available and loved. Because I remember watching Dragon Ball. It was like early 90s, and like Dragon Ball Z, and like started I think the mid 80s, and so there's like decades of like even like Akira was a late 80s. But either way, it's just like it took such a long time for like anime to get that legitimacy, that like to be taken seriously, and then this movie comes out, and so it's like really disappointing because people are.
I was just trying to make a joke about just Tyler's use of the word society. That's all I was trying.
Oh, okay.
We jumped on your ass. We're like, excuse you.
You're like then justifying your fandom. I'm like, I get it. Look around me. I might not, and I like Dragon Ball a lot. I just never. It wasn't my main thing, and I still appreciate, enjoy, and it was a significant thing in my development as a creative person as well. Because when I watched it, like I said, it was game changer and a game changer for me personally. Even though I don't know it as expertly as maybe Star Wars or Akira or those kind of things. So that was just an attempt to make fun of Tyler, not make fun of the fandom part. Okay.
Don't worry, we jumped on you so that the commenters wouldn't. We wanted to take care of that for you.
Well, for me, it's like I remember in college, like I would have to fight to get to see Dragon Ball Z on the TV because there's other people that want to see The Simpsons. So I'd have to make sure that I would get there first to watch Dragon Ball Z, and like so, I don't know. It's like. It's a property that I love, and like it's. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop my.
No, you're totally fine. But what I was trying to get at was, this is a really big thing for geeks, I guess, the Society of Geeks, and this was like a trailblazer because look at the year before this, 2008. We have The Dark Knight and Iron Man. It's the weirdest thing when something is absolutely. We had gotten to the point where we can tell where something was a cash grab. You could tell that there was a lot of love put into X-Men 1, where there was not a lot of love put into X-Men 3. There was an insane amount of love into Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then people were starting to understand about what studio involvement meant with Spider-Man 3. People understood. They go, oh yeah, Sam Raimi wasn't able to do anything he wanted to do. Like people just like knew what happened. Like it just like average audience members, like everyone's like, why is Spider-Man so bad? And people like looked it up. It got to a point where people utilized the internet and utilized information and was just trying to understand what was happening. And like what Paul was saying, Dragon Ball had influenced a lot of people's lives. Maybe not as much as Avatar: The Last Airbender did at the time that it released, because now I think Avatar: The Last Airbender fandom just like doubled just from the pandemic alone. But
it got on Netflix and suddenly people discovered it. I'm like, oh good, geez, took you long enough.
That and Community. Please watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and Community, for the love of God. And 6 seasons in a movie.
I have a story about Avatar: The Last Airbender, by the way. After
we're gonna do The Last Airbender for sure. Like we gotta talk about that movie. But the thing about this movie is that there is like no love and complete disregard, which is what makes this thing so unwatchable, minus the lack of budget. But I don't know. Okay, what was something that you guys got to see that really didn't sting as much as like maybe some of the other things? Like maybe I'm trying to look on the brighter side of this, I guess.
In the movie, or just another movie that actually got anime right?
Which one was that? I'm still waiting for that one too.
Oh, really? I actually really think Speed Racer. I love Speed Racer.
Yes. Okay. I love Speed Racer, and also forgot about Alita as well. Alita and Speed Racer.
Speed Racer to me, because it takes the first 2 episodes of the original cartoon and just turns it into a movie, and has one of the best climaxes that I've seen in like a racing movie in a long time. I feel like it built up perfectly and also looked anime. It was so fun, and I don't know how Christina Ricci never ages. What the shit? But like, it just looked amazing. How she's such a tiny little perfect thing. But like, that is a movie that I was like, see, you can do anime even if you don't want to. Like, it was like, oh, it's so bad. I'm like, well, then you don't like anime. That's okay. Like, that's just not for you. But this movie,
and that movie, though, one thing to consider from a money perspective, that movie didn't do well.
No, it didn't do well.
So that's a problem too. So then if it did well, then people would have copied it. So it didn't do well. So people think, oh, it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's even though it's good, it's not successful. So
absolutely,
those studio people that want to get involved aren't like, make that movie again. That's the problem. I mean, you don't want to see them make it again, but at least that sort of use that formula, that idea. That's the problem.
And it totally makes sense, because like I've seen it from both sides, and the thing that you brought up specifically about Ghost in the Shell is absolutely true. Like, the only way that movie was going to be made is if you put an all-star in it like Scarlett Johansson. Do I agree with the whitewashing? No. But for the movie to actually happen, there's certain math, like there's certain budgetary stuff that has to happen. And like, this movie didn't have it. I don't think this movie would have been possible when they tried to make it. This movie would only be possible like probably in the last 5 years to have done properly, or even done with the heart, because then you saw like all of and it was so great. It was like on my 30th birthday that like we found out that we're getting Dragon Ball Super, and we had just had Resurrection F and Battle of the Gods, and it was like, oh my god, Dragon Ball is coming back. I was like, this is
I like the little dance you just did right now.
Oh my god. I was so excited.
Dragon Ball Super like dug us out of like a bad hole, because like that was the other thing I wanted to bring up earlier, was that the last thing we had of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was Dragon Ball GT.
Doesn't count. That's why I didn't want to mention it. And the worst thing about Dragon Ball GT is that it's not even canon, because it wasn't Akira Toriyama. It wasn't. And like, the fact that anybody brings that up to me, I'm like, okay, I did try to watch it, even though it's not Dragon Ball. I did try to watch it. It's, first of all, Vegeta came out with a fucking mustache and a like crop top thing. No, I'm out. Not my boy. Don't do that to my boy. Don't do that to my boy. No.
I will say the Super gave me my favorite Dragon Ball character, Beerus. I love Beerus so much.
Super is a perfect balance of the heart of Dragon Ball and the action of Dragon Ball Z. It's perfect. I love it.
What were you gonna say? You were gonna say something?
Nothing.
He's
like, he blacked out.
I don't think I was. You know what?
You were like,
I don't remember, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
He's letting us weeb out is what's happening. But anyway,
I just hate all fans of everything. Apparently, that's me this episode, the anti-fan guy. I'm sorry.
Actually, I like the word society. It should be like,
I'm just trying to make fun of Tyler. That's what we do.
Dragon Ball Z is like a very personal thing for me, and so it's like, you know, it turned into like, I don't know, just like,
We got so aggro on you, Josiah. I'm sorry.
I'm like, hey,
we were beat up as kids for this. We get really aggressive about it. I'm sorry.
The one who shared that I was a paper boy watching this on Sunday mornings. Okay, so I'm OG with this stuff. I just forget everybody's names in it.
Going back to the movie, we really don't want to talk about.
Yeah. So, the only good part for me is James Marsters. That's it. That's. His voice, everything is perfect.
I do love Chow Yun-Fat. I think he legitimately just looked like he was having fun. He was like, this movie sucks. I'm having a blast. And like, I don't know. Every time he's in the scene, I kind of got like a glimmer of hope. Like, is it going to get better? No. And then it cuts away and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, like
No,
he
it
doesn't
doesn't.
fit the casting, but he's just good. Like that's
So
again,
good.
he's the only example of something working despite the movie, really. Because even James Marsden's like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
He
They're
should
in
work.
4 different movies.
Yeah,
Different
but
he's
Chow
less
Yun-Fat,
threatening than
just-
Jeremy Irons in the D&D movie, and that's really sad.
Oh, don't even get me started on that movie. Oh my god. We played a full day of D&D as little teenagers. We were so excited, and then we stopped playing D&D for the rest of the weekend. We were so depressed after that movie. Anyways.
Oh God. I can't wait to talk about that movie
John
too.
Malkovich in that what's that dragon movie? Aragon. I think John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah.
John Malkovich in that. Oh my lord, the guy is just like reading his lines. I swear. Anyway, again, let's talk about the movie we're supposed to talk
sorry.
about.
It's
I guess we
hard
have
because it's just that bad.
It is. It's so
so bad.
hard.
Let me check my notes and see what I wanted to really but
Internal Scream.
Internal Scream. Okay,
Internal
yeah.
Scream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just everything that I basically said already. Because like, yeah, Grandpa is Uncle Ben, and the fact that Bulma didn't know anything about the Dragon Balls, it's a Prometheus. What did she call it? Prometheus stone? What did she?
Promethean orbs.
Yeah.
Promethean orbs.
So you took the one character who's actually the one who starts all of Dragon Ball and is the only one that moves anything forward in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, and you made her an idiot.
Yeah. She's so smart.
Who doesn't even use capsules.
Like, oh God, like that. Yeah, man, that's another thing we can. Anyway, Josiah, what was one thing? What was one thing you actually cared or liked in this movie?
Yeah, I'll tell you. And I one thing I kind of liked, but also hated, was the very end of the movie when Goku and Chi-Chi are having their little like sparring session, and then like it's like, you're gonna get me, I'm gonna get you, because they're talking about like the fight they previously had, and which is a stupid conversation and like whatever, but.
I feel like, why did he apologize? She clearly knew why. Like,
yeah,
he could say, "I'm so sorry, I knocked you out," and that's it. Not like, "Hey, let me explain this to you." How did she not get it?
Yeah, but what
I very much like that he changed into that gi randomly, and she stayed in the same clothes too.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah, that was also like, why can't she like
a gi that we'd never seen before? Just like, I'm just gonna change real quick, and she's like, "All right, I'm just in the same blouse." Like,
yeah, and she's dressed like a waitress. Like,
yeah.
I mean, but the thing that I actually did like, and I also kind of hated, was they then stole the ending to Rocky 3 of all movies, where they like jump in the air and it like freeze frames. Like, it's like, you just stole Rocky 3's ending, which is both the best and worst thing about this movie.
That's so funny. I have that in my notes, and I was going to bring it up, and I knew just like, oh, fucking A.
You know what, Paul? Whenever I thought of it, I thought Paul's probably going to think of it too.
I seriously have it in my notes. And they're like, highlighted and everything.
Amazing.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Look how in tune you guys are.
Damn it. Totally weird.
Yeah. What about you, Paul?
But that said, Chow Yun-Fat, that's my favorite thing, because he's so charismatic. I use the charisma thing with anti-charisma with Justin Chatwin, and he's just so charismatic. So that's what he has going for him. That every scene he's in, even though I don't know what character he's playing, I like watching him play it.
Yeah, I would totally have been okay with a Master Roshi movie with Chow Yun-Fat and like have him be like, I would have been okay with it if it's just Roshi. Like,
at least you're gonna get good like combat, because like that's another thing. Justin Chatwin like obvious stunt doubles all the time, and then like close-ups of him like, and then like stunt double and stunt double. So
Jesus, but yeah, it's true.
It's your turn, right? I don't know.
Oh, one good thing.
I'm glad this movie exists so people understand what not to do when they create a movie from Dragon Ball Z. So
it's a living example. I love it.
Yeah, that's.
I have one other thing.
Oh, what's up? What's that?
Oh no, what are you going to tell? What are you going to tell your kids?
A joke about showing this to my children as like, this is what you don't do when you make a Dragon Ball movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And someday Penny will grow up and make a Dragon Ball movie, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
But you'll have to wait like 30 years.
This movie is the reason that Donnie and Rita McMillan decided to make our web series, because they're like, no, that's not how you do it.
This is not the example that we're going to have.
Popmosis, this episode of Popmosis is showing you the problem in Dragon Ball Evolution, and we also have with us the solution. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. So I have a question for all of you guys, actually. So
yeah, of course.
Who would be able to make this movie now, and what would they have to do to make it work? Like
Penny
if
can make
it went
it
on Netflix
Penny
or something.
my daughter Penny in 30
what
years.
director can? Yeah.
I'll
like,
sign
is
on
there a
that.
specific director or actor or somebody that could make this work? And would it be good on Netflix as like a limited series, or how do you think this would work if made today?
I think for me, the obvious answer, that, like in terms of he's making Akira, Thor, Taika
Waititi,
yeah, like he has the perfect tone for it. That he would understand the balance of the humor and the seriousness, but he's too busy probably. But that's my thought.
I don't know who would direct it. It would have to be somebody who's an actual fan. Like that is my number one thing. And then I do want Michael B. Jordan to play Vegeta.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
Oh my God.
So I actually think that if it was like a Netflix limited series, that'd be pretty great. And I did the whole Dragon Ball Z, and Super storyline. But I think Edgar Wright actually would have been an amazing director, because basically if you got the tone of like Scott Pilgrim and applied it to Dragon Ball, because I could think.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I think that would be amazing. I think Edgar Wright could totally do it.
It would be so stylized, like really stylized, like Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver. Oh my God!
Or
the world he builds are so awesome.
Why am I blanking on his name? Fifth Element. Director of Fifth Element, Luc Besson. That would be interesting.
I have one.
If he were making it in like 1999, I would agree. I don't think.
We
kind of lost his mojo a little bit.
Talk about Valerian.
Yeah.
That movie would have been perfect with different lead actors.
Besides Stephen Chow, but I also don't know. I mean, I know he's busy as well. Stephen Chow, I think, would have directed a really good movie. But one that comes to my mind directly is actually a Korean director, Kim Oksu. Oh no, I'm so sorry. That was his. Sorry, I'm looking at his parents. Kim Ji-woon. He directed I Saw the Devil, but one of my favorite foreign films that I've ever watched, which is called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
I know one. Yes.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
And wacky, and the action is actually really good. And I think he would be the perfect blend of the fight and the comedy. And his whole thing, especially with that movie, our cutaways are like it's the weirdest cutaways where he's ripping off of spaghetti westerns and it's comedic timing at its finest. It's just so perfect. It's basically a Korean spaghetti western movie, but very, very modern and very very aware of itself. And it's just so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it would have to be very aware of itself, and it would have to decide if it's going to be a like dark action or like a goofy like Shaolin soccer. Like you can't. It's right. And also, it very much depends on if you're doing Dragon Ball, if you're doing Dragon Ball Z, if you're doing Dragon Ball Super. But
that's the thing. Don't make Dragon Ball because
I don't want to see children like that. I don't want to see. I don't want to see Goku taking off Bulma's underwear to snuggle up in her cooch and spank it. I don't want to see that. That's gonna mess me up.
Maybe it's just me. I just don't want to see adults beat up.
It was the 80s.
Like maybe I just don't want to see a child being like beaten by an adult. I think just starting it off with like a little bit of at the beginning,
like Saga.
Yeah,
straight
just
up.
Be like, hey,
just from
Goku,
marketing,
the world's worst father, and he's from space, and here comes his brother. And that would be hilarious.
He was hit on the head.
And from a marketing point of view, though,
Oh, sorry. No, totally fine. I'm saying have Bill Hader be the narrator, like in Scott Pilgrim.
But just from a marketing point of view, it's just got to be called Dragon Ball Z because that's really the one that it just sounds coolest. First of all, it's the most well known. Yeah, it's the one that I was watching. I did see some of Dragon Ball because I think they like chunked them together as when I watched them because it was actually even a different dub of voices when I watched it as a kid. So later, and that was one of the things. Honestly,
okay, you had the right one then. You had the good one.
So that was a barrier for me though watching it later because I'm like, this isn't the people that I used to like. These aren't the voices I used to know. So, but anyway, I think Dragon Ball Z, calling it that, like even Dragon Ball Evolution, it's a stupid title. What are you trying to be with that? Like, what is it about?
Was it like X-Men Evolution, like that TV show from like the X-Men? Maybe like I don't know what the I don't know what it was.
That was like the teenage X-Men too, so maybe that's what they're going
or
for.
maybe it's being self-aware and it's like this is the evolution of what Dragon Ball becomes now.
That X-Men Evolution wasn't
like,
bad.
Yeah. No, but I will say that like somebody on another YouTube channel actually brought it up. Like if they were to have like a Dragon Ball Z movie, also you can call it the Z Fighters, and then it would like the Z or Z Fighters the movie, and then the Saiyans are coming or something like that. Or like I mean, to me that would be also kind of cool too, because it's just weird saying Dragon Ball. I will, as much of a big fan I am of it, it's still like the people who don't really know much about it, it still kind of sounds weird, and it doesn't really sound as epic. And I think what Akira Toriyama was also going for, where it was just like super serious, awesome stuff. Here's Dragon Ball. Like here's a weird title, because his comedy is so brilliant. If you play any Akira Toriyama games like Dragon Quest and stuff, his comedy is so weird and so self-aware, because that's the whole thing with Dragon Ball, is where it's making fun of itself on like how serious things can get, and then it's just like goes back to Goku eating. Or like doing like really ridiculous
idiot.
stuff.
Like he's just a complete idiot. He has to grab people's genitals to know what gender they are.
Yeah,
like
constantly.
Constantly,
multiple times to teach.
It's not something you all do.
No. And that's the thing also that was very much missing in this movie. And like the charm of Goku is that he's an idiot, but he's just a good guy who just really loves fighting. Like that's like in this movie, like
more
there's so much
than his children.
Yeah, or his wife that he doesn't even know how to kiss, which we found out later on. He
totally loves Chi-Chi. He just doesn't know what love is.
He's terrified of her, but he loves her.
Oh God, I would be too. She's the oh my God, Chi-Chi, get over here.
Yeah, right. Get over here.
Oh, Chi-Chi, you're such a badass. I love you.
The baddest bitch around.
I have all my Dragon Balls
so
there.
For instance, in this movie, Dragon Ball Evolution, I still can't believe this is a movie that exists. But when it had the actual fight, like at the party with like the bullies and him, it would have been so great to just see like, hey guys, and they're just like, you can't be here. He's like, oh, but I was invited. It's like, no, like, oh, you're gonna have to come through us. So he's like, okay, and just dodges everything. He's like, oh, watch out there. Like all the lines, like if you actually hear the lines, some of them he could have played off like, oh, you missed. Like, oh, missed again. And like just been to like, oh, hey, Chi-Chi, that kind of stuff. Oh, they just had a tough time, I guess. Like, and you could have had that like that joy behind it, but instead he's like, I'm awkward and I want to talk to Chi-Chi. And
he should have been overly optimistic.
Yeah.
I guess he's like friends.
Can I say something that have Can I say something that'll make all of you guys and our listeners very mad at me? His lines reminded me so much of Tobey Maguire trying to be funny in the Spider-Man movies. I still do not like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, nor those three movies, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it was just as like terrible as like listening to Tobey Maguire trying to be funny with his quips in the Spider-Man movies. But yeah, it was cringy.
And just have the embryo of Tom Holland just slay it every time.
But no, society's kicked you out. That was a horrible.
Yeah. Honestly, no, but that's why
my side now, Tyler.
Yeah, I don't
know. It definitely felt like Spider-Man, like one, and I mean, we can discuss Spider-Man 1 and 2, which I think were not great, but absolutely necessary in the growth of comic book movies, because Spider-Man 1 and 2 are what put it on the map. And like, yes, X-Men 1 came out like pretty much at the same time, but to me, it was like Spider-Man was like, it was bright, it was pretty, it got it done, and like it was weird enough with Sam Raimi, great. But
like people saw X-Men because they wanted to see like an action movie, but people saw Spider-Man for Spider-Man, like for Spider-Man. Like people were just.
In X-Men it wasn't like a low budget movie, but it was much more modestly budgeted movie compared to Spider-Man was like the first beyond Superman and Batman, the first huge budget comic book movie. So that was where it changed. But I disagree that Tobey Maguire wasn't good as Spider-Man, but that's neither here nor there. But I do totally agree. They were trying to make him Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And the problem was, I think that Tobey Maguire pulls off that aw shucksiness, whereas Justin Chatwin does not. So it doesn't work. Like,
I think it's the exact same. I
It's
think
just
it's
not
insane.
Goku at all. Like that is not Goku's
No,
character.
exactly. That's the thing. It doesn't even matter whatever they're copying, where they're doing, or where they achieve. They didn't achieve what they tried to achieve. That's the thing. They absolutely didn't.
Which actually is like really funny. It kind of reminds me, like, as the movie keeps going, like it's
Just
you
kept
have
going.
it kept going, and
It's
you
still
have other.
going, even though
like,
you're not
okay.
watching it. It's still going.
I am a Yamcha defender, just like I am a Krillin defender, because I don't understand why people hate Krillin, and the fact that this movie does not have Krillin in it.
Oh,
makes me
I was.
so
I know
mad.
that was the thing I was most
Like-
upset about too.
like-
I'll say that.
like-
as the
like-
casual fan of this podcast, where's Krillin?
Wait, right, just like no,
Yeah, like
Paul,
I'm a
what did you say?
casual fan. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah.
They should have had Krillin instead of Yamcha, and you could see their friendship growing as the story went along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did they have Yamcha there? And they tried to settle this like love between him and Bulma, but they didn't really develop it. It was just, I felt like this movie had all the passion of somebody having a grocery list and like checking off that they got eggs and orange juice. It's like so bad.
Yeah,
But
it's
instead they got like the carton of like just the egg whites, you know what I'm talking about? Like instead of actual eggs, like that's what they did. The way that you bring in Krillin would have been so simple. Instead of like him showing up to the Kame house and having a fight with Roshi, is that he shows up to the Kame house actually on an island, thank you. And then Krillin is like there, and who are you? Like, well, you have to talk to Roshi, you have to get through me, and then and like you see that happen. Like that's how you have Krillin there, and then you start them off just like they did in the anime, as like, you know, that he's like opposing him at all times in competition, but then they grow a friendship. And
the biggest problem is that we also didn't get Yajirobe, Dragon Ball Z's most important character. I'm joking.
Fuck you. But actually, to go back to your point about Yamcha, which we'll have our own discussion of why you have any love for Yamcha, but the way that they portrayed Yamcha, again, every single character is completely wrong in this.
Yeah.
Yamcha's whole point is he is a, you know, desert bandit, and that's what he does. But the reason he wants the Dragon Balls is that he wants to wish that he is no longer afraid of women, because every time he sees a woman, he faints or freaks out or just like disappears. And like we didn't see that at all. Instead, we had this weird bleach blonde like surfer guy thing that looked like he just came off the set of, I don't know. Like it just made
I don't
no
even
sense.
think he acted after it. I think like this was like his only role, I think. Let me see. June Park. Let's see. June Park did not really do anything until he's done like 3 or 4 things and like nothing. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, as always, it's like this whole movie, it's so sad because you have such great stories. You have such great characters that have already been built out and their whole everything. And instead they just were like, nah, we're just going to do something completely different and just name them the same. Everything is totally different. And like the world didn't make sense. I absolutely agree. Take out the dinosaurs. That's too much. Like, you know, take out the dog mayor also. Cause like that doesn't really, I'm still confused about that.
I understand taking out Oolong and Puar. Like I get it. I love Oolong. I love Oolong. But like I
just wants
understand. He does want panties.
He just wants panties.
Yeah,
that was his wish.
That he saved the world because he saved the world with panties, guys.
Well, one pair of panties, to be fair.
One pair of panties. But that's the thing is like again, don't make Dragon Ball, make Dragon Ball Z. Like that's what everybody wanted. I didn't get to watch Dragon Ball until it started coming out in DVD because I was like, because again, I'm younger than both you, Josiah and Paul. So like they did broadcast it in the early 90s and they stopped because of Toonami and they just showed Dragon Ball Z. And so I never actually got to watch it until 2006 when they started having come out in the uncensored, unrated, and the unedited versions of the box.
You saw a whole lot of Goku dong. You saw a whole lot of dong.
Yeah, you did.
He's a lot of Goku naked all the time, just peeing.
Fishing naked, and and so like I don't understand why. One thing doing the part of the franchise that most people didn't know about at all, because if you talk to people about Dragon Ball, they just think Vegeta, Piccolo, and big Goku and Gohan, like, and nobody really knew anything else. And like what you said, Paul, like they're just gonna ask questions. Why is Piccolo mean? And that's not Piccolo as well. That's probably what they're also
That's
asking.
one thing that I think they tried to establish, though, like that whole, like they were thinking the sequel, and I think he's gonna have no memory and be a good guy. That's the sequel.
Maybe they were so afraid of doing Dragon Ball Z. They were like, listen, people may forgive us for Dragon Ball. If we mess up Dragon Ball Z, they may actually come for blood. And you know what? That may would have happened. So I'm glad they did Dragon Ball instead of Dragon Ball Z.
Thing is they didn't do Dragon Ball because all of these characters are too old to be in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And also it's not Dragon Ball. Like nothing that happens in this. The only thing, did Roshi even try to use the vase thing to put him in?
No.
Yeah, right?
Why?
Yeah, there was.
Why did we even have that scene? Why? It makes no sense. Like it would make, I don't know if there was an earlier script where they actually did what they did in the anime and like tried to trap him the same way they did the last time and it doesn't work. Fine. But it's just like nothing was Dragon Ball. Like they pitched it for the ages of when they're between, and it just like it was this weird thing where it's not either. I don't know what they were thinking, because
the thing about this movie is like this comes from a very hardcore fan base where it's like I can't even talk about why this movie, it's hard for me to talk about how the movie is bad because it destroys a fandom and it destroys something that I love. And maybe it's not fair, I guess, like for the podcast, but also like great for the podcast because it shows why we care. But anyways, sorry. This is a little.
I have a good comparison, especially for you, Josiah, because you are a huge Star Wars fan, as am I. Now, imagine if there was only like the comic books and like the books of Star Wars, and when they finally made a movie, it was the holiday special. That's what this is.
I get it. I mean, I understand, and I still like Dragon Ball. I
know, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like it felt like it destroyed. Like, but can you imagine if only the holiday special came out and none of the other movies had come out? Like, how much that would have destroyed any of the other movies being made. So that's why, like, it's like.
Oh, I would actually even say the holiday special is better than this movie because it has an animated sequence of Boba Fett and the goofy, really long chin Han Solo.
Arthur.
Oh, fuck you, Arthur. I know you want to. But...
Now here, I would maybe be upset if now let's take ourselves back to, as we did on our Empire Strikes Back episode. Let's take ourselves back to 1980, and I go to the theater and I'm expecting in my head to see the next episode of Star Wars, which is The Empire Strikes Back, which is my personal absolute single favorite movie, as we talked about at length on a different episode. And then I see the Star Wars holiday special. I understand how that would be unbelievably shattering. Knowing what the Star Wars holiday special is, this TV thing that exists over here, that makes it okay. So I understand, though, if that would what would happen, that would destroy me. And understand, so when I first saw this movie, I saw it on when Netflix was still on disc, and I was excited to see it. I missed it in the theaters because it was just there and gone. I had intended to see it, and like I don't remember anything about it, but I remember, oh, Dragon Ball now has a movie? Like, I hadn't followed it since then. But again, it was one of those things that was important to me as a kid. Like, I didn't, I can't think of another sort of a similar allegory, but, there's plenty of things that I was into as a kid that I didn't stay consistent with, but I still loved. And this is one of those things. And I still haven't ever revisited it, but it doesn't mean I don't love it. And so whenever I missed it in the theaters and I was like, okay, I'll just wait till it comes out on DVD or whatever. I remember getting it from Netflix. I was so excited. I think I was in grad school at the time. No, it was after grad school. I was married and I was home or something. It was like an afternoon. And I remember watching it. I was so excited to watch it that I like watched it in the middle of the day, stopped whatever else. I think I was working from home at the time or something. I stopped whatever I was doing to watch it. And then I was like, this is garbage. This isn't anything. And I'm like, did I misremember it? All these questions came up. So I experienced that with this movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the level of fan you guys are, but it was seeing this movie was that, as Tyler said, it was like devastating in that way because it's like, it made me question myself. Like, did I remember? Was it worse than like honestly at first?
And then I kind of watched like Dragon Ball Z.
No, exactly. And I kind of watched a little bit of it to like remind myself a few episodes. I'm like, okay, no, that was the movie that was bad. It wasn't that I was like young and didn't understand something. It was.
I will admit that going back and watching Dragon Ball Z is very hard, especially if you did not grow up with Dragon Ball Z. Do not watch Dragon Ball Z. Watch Dragon Ball Kai, please. Like, just do yourself a favor, save yourself, and then go back and watch Dragon Ball
I'm so
Z.
glad that you said that, because there's so many times, especially like if I start dating somebody and they see how much I love Dragon Ball, they're like, "Oh, show it to me." I'm like, "Listen, real talk.
I know I love this.
I'm obsessed with it." But it's not gonna hold up great. Like, it's really hard to get, because like it's that same feeling that's just you can't get anymore of watching something on TV and you only have that one time to watch it, and that was it. Oh my god! Like, I would rush over to my buddy's place to watch this every day after school. And I remember the one time in high school. Oh, that poor kid I was dating at the time. Oh, he accidentally taped or it didn't work, like the taping of it. And like legitimately the only thing that was holding me together, I had like such a rough week. The only thing that was holding me together is I was going to be able to go to his house and we're going to watch Dragon Ball Z. And then it didn't record. And I just had a meltdown. It was like, everything was over. But there's very few movies that have ruined a franchise like this hard. The only other movie that comes close to me is The Spirit. Like, there's few, because like, there are some that are so bad, it's so much fun. Like Super Mario Brothers. I don't care who you are. I love that trash pile. It's so much fun.
I agree.
It's so dumb. I love it.
Monkey.
But, yeah, monkey. I think we're the aliens here. Waka waka. But this movie is like, it's not even a good movie. Like, it falls apart after the first like 5 minutes. You're like, well, why, who, what, when? And I can't think of another movie that was from a source material that was this bad. Like I said, The Spirit is, but I still think this movie is worse.
I also find it hilarious how Dragon Ball itself, one, is 167 episodes, lots of story, lots of stuff. The Piccolo saga is 2 seasons long of that, and this movie is not even an hour and a half. It's not even an hour and 26 minutes. Like,
and that's the only thing that's right.
Yeah. Oh, damn it! Fuck. Zach got me again.
I missed it. What did he say? Everything happened so fast.
He said that's the best part of the movie.
I said that's the only thing I got right. Yeah, that it was short.
Yeah. It's insane.
And like, I've become somehow the like, Josiah, let me explain it to you, Josiah.
Yeah.
You don't get it. I'm the conduit for everyone out there that is like not a super fan. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm happy to be that person, because usually I'm the super fan.
I think it's time for final thoughts. And so
this movie just looks ugly with like the oversaturated colors. That like, it reminds me a lot of the Transformers movies. And another franchise that like ruined my childhood, because I like grew up in Transformers and loved it.
That's a good parallel for me, actually, thinking about it, Paul, because like Transformers, like as a kid, because Paul and I, a little bit older than Tyler, we were kids in the 80s. So like Transformers was a big deal. Those toys were a big deal. So that's a good one. What I remember when I first saw Transformers, I'll let you get back to it. I don't know, but it opens with Optimus Prime and then instantly it's just garbage. Like, it has the Optimus Prime voice and it's amazing, and then garbage. And then like instantly.
I will say this, at least the first movie was entertaining.
Yeah.
This is not entertaining.
Incoherent. The first Transformers is coherent. Like,
it's coherent. I absolutely get what you're saying, that it wasn't Transformers, like it didn't actually depict the cartoon that we loved, but at least you could just sit back and just be like, all right, here's a dumb movie. Like, okay, this movie, even if you try to go to your Zen place or take whatever edibles you need to do, it will never get there.
Yeah, like this movie didn't even make sense. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry, buddy.
I want to watch this movie with edibles now.
I know, it's funny you mentioned the whole Peter, like, as I heard, I was like, oh my God, Peter Cullen. That's the original Optimus Prime, and it's his voice. And I was like, holy shit, I think they're gonna get this right. And then as soon as that, after that, it's like complete garbage, and like I was just like, oh fuck. Yeah, it's just, and the sad thing is, every time a new one comes out, I'm thinking, okay, this one is gonna change things. This one's gonna be better. I'll give it a chance. And then once I'm like sorely disappointed.
I did the same thing, but only for the second movie. And then I'm like, no, it's not going to get any better.
Yo, real bad. Got real bad. I mean, I feel like we all know where I stand on this. The only, for ruining my soul. Again, to me, the only good thing that came out of this movie for me personally was being part of Dragon Ball Light of Hope and that series, because that was a huge part of my life of finally knowing that I could be as nerdy as I wanted. Because actually for years before that, I was like, all right, we're just going to hide this nerd. We're just going to, nobody knows. It's fun. So for me, like that is the only good takeaway. And then I do have hope since Disney has bought up Fox, and hopefully they still have the rights, because Disney is the only people that have the money and know how to take a franchise that has such a deep fandom and actually give it to the fans.
Do they have? I know that was produced by Fox, but do they have the rights to produce? Do you know? I'm just curious.
I don't think that they've expired. I don't think
it hasn't expired, but they haven't taken it up again or anything
see.
like that. So like technically they do, but they haven't done anything as far as I know.
Gotcha. Because I did write, it was, you know what's funny, that was one of the things that was in my notes, like, oh, it's 20th Century Fox, so like Disney owns that film, but do they own the rights to make it? That was my thought. So
if Disney has access to it, like I know that they're busy trying to fix Star Wars and trying to keep going with MCU after a pandemic, but could you imagine though, like 3 big like franchises like this? Like you're hitting like old sci-fi, and then you're hitting like
and they have Studio Ghibli too, so like
they have distribution rights, but but that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Well, kind of. I don't. Yeah. Oh, and Pixar, but like I don't know, man. Like, yeah, like, do I want to see this live action ever though? I don't know.
I don't. I'm happy with my web series.
Yeah, I think I think like the best thing is in it with the fans, and then Toriyama. Like I think Toriyama has said that, because I know we don't want to say GT exists. Some of it is canon, Akira Toriyama said. Some of it did carry over to Super. Some of the stuff like some Kid Boost stuff did carry over, which is fine. He carried over the stuff that he did like. So hey, good on him. So I think you have to look at the creator and what he wants and everything, because he's not like a lot of other creators out there. Dragon Ball is an international success. Like it is a huge thing. I know through a lot of friends who have told me, and people I've met through the year, it is unbelievably big in South America. In Mexico, in South America, Dragon Ball Z is just still king.
Huge.
It's supreme.
There was people who did did dubs for our series, and we were getting like, that's actually when I found out that it was going to be like around the world, is I got emails or messages from people in Brazil who were like, hey, so just so you know, we did the thing and it sounds great. And it was great too hearing like the woman who did my voice, and she's so like and she had such a voice. I'm like, oh.
When I went to Brazil, they had Dragon Ball Z stuff at like places that you just wouldn't expect it. Like I'm not, it's ungodly big still today, and it's so funny because there was a huge hiatus from from after GT, I think like 98 all the way till Super was in 2014. So yeah. I mean, that's a huge gap, and it's still like the biggest thing. Anyway, so I digress.
No, there was something in that gap. In 2009, there was a movie called Dragonball Evolution.
That's right.
Yeah. Forgot about that movie.
But so like I think with my final thought, I guess I'm glad this movie exists. I'm glad this movie exists. I think it got wide audiences and normal casual moviegoers to finally maybe be like, should I see this? Should I look into this? Like I feel like people
I'm a ding dong any more movies.
Because a lot of the casual audiences did grow up. Like a lot of our age did grow up with Dragon Ball Z. And I think that this movie doing so poorly was such a huge IP. I think it kind of maybe is a good thing, but I think it kind of like made people maybe a little bit more aware of where they spend their money on. Because again, they just watched Iron Man, a superhero that a lot of people don't know who he is, have his own movie, and then Batman just like the summer before, and then this summer was like Superman and Hulk. Like, I understand that it looked like crap in the trailers and everything like that, but I remember this thing being marketed a lot. And the fact that it tanked, maybe that's like a good thing and a blessing in disguise. It's just like, listen, don't do this. But of course, they did it the next year with with The Last Airbender. So, what do I know? But my final thought is this is an absolutely terrible movie that I watched 3 times this week. I watched it the first time when I was working, and I just mostly listened to it, and then I watched it again. and I was like, okay, like I'm seeing all the problems that I definitely need to talk about, and that anger me. And then I watched it again before this recording again, and yeah, it is aggravating, but also like so funny. It's not funny, it's bad. It's not like The Room. It's so funny because this is clearly something that nobody cared about at all, like in the writing room or anything like that. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna do this to keep the IP. Anyway, yeah. So my final thought is this is a whole mash of something that I think it wasn't the end of entertainment. However, it did really, really damage a fandom and a fantastic franchise. And luckily, that damage was mostly only here in America and nowhere else.
I want to go to Josiah because you got a chill when you mentioned that you had to watch this movie so many times. You're like, oh.
No, 3 times. It's this movie took me like 3 different sittings to get through it. I just couldn't consistently, but I only watched it once, fortunately. So I think I guess my final thoughts here would be like jumping off of what Tyler said. It's interesting because when you think about it, in terms of the fan base, this movie, before it came out, the fans obviously knew this wasn't going to be a true Dragon Ball movie, and it didn't look like one. And it's so I think that what then happens is the marketing people who clearly made this movie said, here's the, like Paul said, here's the grocery list of things we need in a superhero type movie with martial arts action in it. Here's the things we need. You go get those things for us and we'll make money on this thing. And they didn't even do that. Like, not even, they didn't break the, like I said, $9 million in the United States. So like that alone. But that said, I think then you have those marketing people that then misinterpret what's happening. They see this failed movie and therefore this franchise has no legs because it's a bad movie, but it's a bad movie that has nothing to do with the franchise. So then the marketing people say it's a dead franchise. We can't do anything with it. I think you can. I don't know that, like we discussed who could do it, all those things. There's something there because I was into it a long time ago. Like I said, it didn't carry over the way it did for you, all of you guys, but it was there. It engaged me. I would every Sunday morning, I would rush to get my newspapers delivered so I could get home to watch it because I just had to see whatever the next episode, what was going to happen, all that. And it was great about the cliffhangers in those shows. They were great about that to get you coming back.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
But my real final thought is, which Paul touched on it a little bit, we didn't talk about, it's just a bad movie. Take away the fact that it's a Dragon Ball movie. It's not well made. It's not well performed, even by good actors. It's not well edited.
It's not even well edited.
It doesn't make sense. It's the CGI was really, really, really poor. Then the fighting wasn't well choreographed, and nothing about it worked. That we didn't talk about that. So it's just a bad movie in and of itself. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like we were venting the mostly the fan frustration from you guys, as opposed to just acknowledging.
I feel like I mentioned it being just a straight up bad movie.
But I mean, I'm talking. We didn't talk about.
We
didn't talk about why. You know what I mean? We didn't go into like why. Like Paul mentioned, like the cinematography.
Do we need to?
And how it's just an ugly movie to look at. I'm just saying though that. Getting to my sort of climax here, the point. After I'm watching the movie, Judy, my wife, joined me for just the end of it, and she hadn't seen it. And at the end, she just like she's watching like maybe the last 10 minutes or something, and she's like, I'm like, yeah, and this is probably the best part in some ways. And she goes, well, is it really that bad? I said, yeah. She's like, well, like, is it bad that you like watching? I said, no, that's the problem. It's not even bad enough to be entertaining. It's just bad.
Yeah. No, it's
so
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, this movie's just a really bad movie, and it's watching this movie is never been as frustrating as like buying an IKEA desk and then it's missing parts, so you can't really complete the whole desk. It's just like this.
There's no leg here.
It'd be better if you bought an IKEA desk, but then what you got was a shelf that didn't even have all the parts. Like that's what it feels like because it doesn't even end up being a desk.
It's just like incomplete, and and that's the thing. It's like, what do I even say about this incomplete thing that I didn't even expect? Like, I can't find anything to make fun of, or there's like no joy in this movie, and it's not entertaining in any way. And I feel like this whole movie is just made by committee. Like they're like, "Hey, Transformers, let's make it look like Transformers." Shia LaBeouf's in high school. Let's make it oversaturated colors, and let's have a bully because Transformers had a bully. Oh, and like it's just like all these different things that just like really don't work. And
you can shit on Michael Bay, but his cinematographer is actually really. I mean, his movies look fine. Like,
they look
I'm sorry.
great.
You just can't see them because there's
like,
an edit every 1.5 seconds. But yeah, they look fine.
Yeah, and so I think that the most frustrating thing is that for a lot of fans is that we love this franchise. Like, we love Dragon Ball Z, and we see the potential for it, and we see what can become of it, and we hope that one day somebody like a Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni or Kevin Feige will take the reins and really elevate this beautiful thing that we love, and really take hold of it and make it like, I don't know, like the MCU. Because there's like, honestly, I look at Iron Man. Like, before I saw Iron Man, I didn't give a shit about Iron Man or Tony Stark. I never read any one of the comics. Yep. I was not into
Guardians of the Galaxy? Who knew about that?
I knew only Rocket. That's the only one I knew because of Marvel versus Capcom.
I read Guardians of the Galaxy forever, but I didn't care about Iron Man. I'm with you on that. I was always in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like hip.
let me just finish my point. So I watched Iron Man and loved it and like became a fan of the MCU since then. And so, I'm hoping that one of these days that happens, that somebody that really loves and is passionate about Dragon Ball Z like takes the reins and makes like a whole series of movies out of this, because there's like so much potential there for like something really great. And so that's the thing. I think that's what the reason why we're so upset is because there's so much potential there, and it's just such a missed opportunity. And this movie is so bad that it destroys any other opportunities for anybody to make like a high budget film like this. Because I bet you at some point there was a Taika Waititi who said, "Hey, I would love to do Dragon Ball," and then they were told no because, hey, remember that Dragonball Evolution movie? It doesn't have any legs. So why are we going to invest millions of dollars in this franchise if we know we're going to lose money?
There have been a bunch of really good directors over the years who said we want to make Dragon Ball, but they're not making it. Again, some of these websites still exist, but no, Dragon Ball has been still talked about for a live action movie, like constantly. People, like a lot of people got into film, especially in animation nowadays, because of Dragon Ball. Like it still was an influence for him, just like Akira.
There's a reason we have 34 million views of our first episode. Like, people go crazy for it.
I can just see like a lot of people probably wanting to do it, but you're right. In the studio, just being like, yeah, no. Do you not remember Evolution?
Yeah. So I left on that.
And it's such a high profile failure that, it makes it a hard sell. And I think like, I hear all the time, like Steven Spielberg's trying to make this, or, Wachowskis are trying to make this and they're unsuccessful. And, it's like, just because they have that clout and that expertise doesn't mean that thing's going to get made, that they have like the, like even like,
look at Halo. Look at Halo. Peter Jackson, Steven Spielberg, Neil Blomkamp. Like everybody was working on Halo and it's still nothing yet.
Yeah. So I just, that's the thing that's upsetting is that, there's this franchise that I really love and I grew up with, and this came out. What I think people need to realize is that if you do something right and you respect the franchise, it could bring new people in and it could become a profitable thing. It could be, like this had the potential to be like an MCU style like series of movies. And if you respect your fans and respect the franchise, you can bring those people in. And and I feel like what I love about the MCU is that before that, I feel like a lot of creators didn't respect the franchise or didn't respect, like it was. I mean, Spider-Man 2.
At this point, franchises were building and franchises were being destroyed. Spider-Man 3, X-Men.
Yeah, it's like
it was a weird period.
It was really they really test the waters, but yeah, they just it wasn't until Kevin Feige he really like changed things, and I think it's something that you really should acknowledge.
I think we're all right, and I think that this movie is all wrong. And I love every single one of you. And I'm sure that our audience also loves every single one of you. So why don't you guys tell us where they can find more of you. And we'll start with our guest.
Oh, okay. Well, on all social media, I keep it really simple. I'm just Ru_Thompson. So whether it's Instagram, Twitter, I supposedly have joined TikTok. We'll see about that. But then if you want to see me doing anything live, I work for Aftershock Comics. I'm the senior retailer relations manager for them. And so I do videos twice a week talking about all the comic books. So if you follow Aftershock Comics, you'll see me there as well.
You can find me at Josiah is Right, WRITE, right? WRITE. Ah.
Oh man.
How's that spelling going?
Check the description below. We're ending right now. Josiah is Right on check out his YouTube channel and also follow him on Instagram and a bunch of other stuff. He is awesome. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at arcadeblackfire.com. Yeah, wait.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Arcade Blackfire with a Y.
Thanks for listening, and you can check out all of our shows and offerings on thegrandgeekgathering.com. We have articles, 9 other podcasts for you to enjoy, and so much more. I also stream on Twitch. Our music has been provided by Carlisle Loren. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all the stuff. Have a wonderful week. Please wear a mask. We'll see you next season, and...
What's on the silver screen? Makes you wouldn't believe.